Yep. So I'll have to ask half the room to imagine you have boobs. Because I
knew you'd like this.
Yeah. I'm part of the Berlei brand, which has been a leading brand in the bra category for over 100 years now. And we are a premium brand, so we're asking you to pay $70 for a bra. And we're slightly different to the rest of the category because we're a bra that you wear for yourself. So we're the #1 brand for women to feel great in themselves, not for someone else. So quite often the category is about being sexy for someone else. So if you want to be sexy for someone else, you quite happily pay a bit more, but if it's just for you, you probably don't want to invest as much. So from a marketing challenge point of view, I'm trying to encourage women to get into store, try on a bra. It's really quite traumatising for them because they have to stand in fluorescent rooms with 360-degree view of themselves in these change rooms. You have a woman poking you going, let's see what we have to work with then. And so when I'm marketing, I'm asking women to go through that experience and try a bra on because there's 30 different sizes because it's not just jeans, there's bandwidth and then breasts and size, and so it's very complicated. So mostly what I'm trying to do is get women in store to try on their bra. If they are purchasing in digital, it's probably because they're purchasing us because they know size. Then on our digital front, I've been having a lot of fun in the digital space in recent times. I'll probably go into that a little bit more a bit later. With do it
Touch
yourself.
on, give us a flavour of what
so,
you do and how you measure it.
Yeah, so what I've been doing with Berlei is one of our biggest fans is Serena Williams. She's been wearing us since 2000. We made that an official partnership back in 2014. But the way we were using her was very traditional. It was traditional channels, traditional media. No one really knew about it. So what we did with her is use digital to tell a really authentic story. She launched this campaign in Facebook with her own words, talking about the alignment between herself and the brand. And it absolutely went off the hook. So it was only Facebook and YouTube. They're the only channels with a little bit of path to purchase. We got the highest Net Promoter Score in 7 years, the highest awareness in 3 years, and the highest consideration in 1.5 years. And that's in half the media spend that we'd had from the year before. So I love digital. And measurement, it's a combination of sales and brand health and everyone's saying metrics that matter, according to where you are on the brand purchase funnel.
Brilliant, thanks, Amy. Maddie, tell us about Carnival and your world.
So I work for Carnival Australia, and most of you would always think of cruise as either for the newlywed or the nearly dead. I must admit, we have had 21% growth in 2016 and 10 years of 20% growth. So we are the 3rd largest growth market in the world, behind China and randomly New Zealand, but they're just smaller numbers. We also have an equivalent of an audience penetration rate of 5.3%. So 1 in 19 people in Australia per year cruise, but there will be some repeat cruises in that. So my challenge is to fill our ships. No ship sail empty, every ship sails full. That's from an onboard spend point of view, and that's also from a yield point of view. We need to grow demand, and we don't need to grow demand from fellow cruise brands. We need to grow demand from people that are going to Fiji, going to Noosa, going to Thailand, going to Bali. We need to grow the cruise category. So across brands, we've got Carnival, P&O, Princess, Seabourn, so there's quite a few brands. My job is, firstly, to make sure that they cruise on the right brand. We don't want someone that's 75 years old on a P&O ship where it's a booze cruise. And then we also want to make sure that they have the right message at the right time to the right segment. So it's a bit of a data challenge for us, as well as a really sophisticated marketing funnel where we've got dreamer, looker, planner, booker. And I'm sure a lot of you work to that system, but for travel, it's literally you're planning a trip. Dreamer is you've just come back and you're dreaming of your next destination. So the funnel really works down from a digital point of view for me.
Okay, thank you. Danielle?
Yep. So I work for Lenovo. We are the world's largest PC company. We sell everything from the Motorola phone, which we bought from Google a couple of years ago, through to the ThinkPad computer, to Yoga PC, which is our consumer branded PC, through to data center servers and bespoke sort of enterprise professional services. So it's very complex. We have everything from your mum and dad to your consumer, all the way through to your CIO, CEO in the enterprise space. We've got, for me personally, I look after all of Asia Pacific, so I've got 14 countries. It's very complex in terms of different segments, and it's all of my job is to attract every customer in every segment across every country in Asia Pacific.
Brilliant, thank you.
Brent. Hey, I'm Brent. I need science with me.
You just start now.
I'm naked. I never thought I'd say this. I feel like this is an Alcoholics Anonymous, but I'm Brent and I'm an insurance marketer. I'm really excited to work in insurance because I passionately believe there's no such thing as low involvement categories or low involvement products. There's only low involvement marketing. And I think we can make, in marketing, a massive, massive difference in insurance because people don't care about insurance, people don't think about insurance. And I honestly believe marketing could be our biggest differentiator. In terms of the sort of challenges that we face, I mentioned in the earlier talk, growth is our challenge. Like many big leading incumbent companies, we're the biggest insurer in the country. We've got a lot to protect, but we also need to grow. So growth is a challenge for us. But it's not why I don't get out of bed every day to sort of grow policies. It's not that inspiring for me. What I'm inspired by is our purpose, our company purpose, which is to make the world a safer place. And we mean it at IG. Our CEO means it. We all mean it. And I think there's a lovely transparency in it where we say, if we can help our customers be safer, what a wonderful thing to make communities safer, make the country safer. But it's good for us because we pay out less claims and we make more money. And that's a very transparent, honest way, I think, to do business. And I'm really excited to bring that purpose to life of how can we make Australia safer.
Thank you. Bras, ships, PC and insurance. Couldn't get more diverse than that. I guess speaking of diversity, I was lucky just sitting in your art and science session and it just kind of dawned on me that actually there is this real strength in the diversity you were articulating with Willem. I'm going to lean to one side of that, and I want to come back to creative in a digital world. But I want to start with the data. And maybe I'll look to you, Maddie, in terms of, as a business, without covering everything, what are the 2 or 3 kind of approaches or data points that are important to you, and how do you go about that in your world?
Absolutely. So driving an efficient CPA is very important for us. So there's been, in our market, there's increased demand, but more than that, capacity is doubling. So we're in a huge interesting point where by 2020, we need to grow to 2 million passengers. Currently, we sit at about 1.38 per year, 1.38 million. So that's a huge growth curve. So for us, we need to drive CPAs down. At the same time, I'm not scared to pay a higher CPA for a segment that I know is going to buy a higher yielding cruise or higher net ticketed revenue. And I'm also not scared to pay more for someone or a segment that I know is going to spend more on board. So data is so important to be able to, and we get all your onboard spend information through your swipe cards, so to be able to segment those audiences and then extrapolate lookalikes to find like-minded people through programmatic and in the digital space.
Are you focusing on, I'm thinking back to Gonzalo's presentation, and I think part of the challenge, in fact, it's a bit of a theme already through the day that, with digital, there's not much you can't measure, but that's part of the issue, right? Part of the challenge. How are you figuring out in your world what you should be measuring?
I think that absolutely, today everyone's been saying that a click is just a click, and that, we need to be careful of frequency. For us, it needs to be, at least there is a framework there and it's indicative, otherwise it's blind. Otherwise we're working blindly and the business would not accept that. There needs to be, at the top of the funnel, I'm looking at uniques and CPMs. Then as I go down, I'm looking at page lands onto the home page. As I go further down, I want to get that person to an itinerary. And as they go further down, I want them to be retargeted with a cruise that I know that they're interested in. And so I do have set metrics all the way down the booking curve. But obviously there's a huge online premise. A lot of people still book via travel agents, especially for cruise. So that's where we need to look at an omni-channel attribution, which I argue definitely does not exist yet, and that's a huge piece. But data
Willem's
points.
building it, actually.
You can come work for us. Steal him. No, so there is such a thing as too much data, but I think everyone should try and give it a go, because if you're not leaning in and trying to solve these issues and challenging your partners to help you solve these issues, then I think that we'll get somewhere.
And comparing that, Danielle, with your world, I guess Maddie touched on the importance of sort of mapping out customer journeys. But you're trying to do that at a regional level. So is that different data points and a different approach to measurement, or is it one that you do across the whole region?
Yeah, look, it really it depends. We have, I suppose, two streams that we look at. One is brand. So I definitely measure, brand awareness, brand consideration, and the performance on that side. And then for performance marketing, definitely measuring pretty much everything under the sun. But the one thing that really matters to us is what is our return on ad spend. And that's what we definitely look at. And I'm challenging all of my marketing team across the region to really focus on that one metric that's going to move the needle each time. So looking at everything as an integrated approach, and yes, looking at the programs individually, but as they work together in a more, I suppose, integrated approach.
And Zoe, in your world, where there's clearly a pretty significant physical component of the brand experience, how are you sort of reconciling the two? And being able to get a sense of what's working?
So Berlei was a bit of a fixer-upper. It's coming into its 100th year. It was looking its age, unfortunately. So we've been working quite hard at modernising the brand and premiumising it and making it culturally relevant. So we've been looking at our brand health as closely as possible, because we were the largest spender in the category, and our brand health scores were consistently going off a cliff. So something wasn't working, something had to change, and that's why we've been behaving the way we have. So in terms of the brand health is a big one, and I'm really excited to hear consistently the focus on creativity and brand today. It's been omnipresent in most of the chats, so big win for that. Then in terms of the campaign analysis, it's like you guys, when you're going, it's attributing the metrics to the brand purchase funnel and where you are in your campaign. And then performance, I've got my team dominating that space, so yeah.
Brent, we've just had your session on art and science. Art's here. I don't know where science has gone. We'll have to find Willem. I'm intrigued. It was the session. You were both quite different, but we were talking briefly in the break about how one feeds off the other. I think when you look at a lot of digital automation, I think the past has been, or the near past has been, if you take things like programmatic around media and bringing science, if you like, to media planning and buying. Do you think that can apply? This might be sounding sacrilegious to you, but do you think that we can bring science to make art better, or vice versa?
Yeah.
What does that look like in IAG? What's the journey?
I think look, of course, it's got a role to play. And when we talk about, we don't believe that art and science are mutually exclusive. We talk about art and science, and we talk about knowing when do you do more science and when do you do more art. Like, they're not mutually exclusive. They do work together. And I think the brilliant thing for me about being an IAG is I'm learning so much from people like Willem and other people at our place who are the data capabilities we've got are frightening. I grew up in ad agencies where, God, we had no data capability. I'm learning a lot from that, and I think the place to really vigorously use the science and the data is to really understand your customers and to really find those powerful insights. And I think the more time you spend knowing your consumer and understanding them and is vital. I mean, that's how you have the confidence to take these intuitive leaps. But I'd say the place you absolutely cannot ever use science is to test an idea. It is not possible. It ruins every creative idea I've ever been involved in. And no amount of science or research is ever going to validate a breakthrough, genius, brilliant, never been seen before idea. It will kill it every time because people are not comfortable with those sort of ideas. They don't know how to critique those kind of ideas. And certainly 8 people sitting in a focus group around some stale sandwiches is not how people actually respond in the real world to real content. And I can't believe with all the science and automation and clever brains we've got in marketing, we still have not found a valid way to test a piece of creative.
So you're not saying you're against test and learn. I got then the question of focus groups and certain types of qual you're calling into question in applying that to creative.
Yeah, I think it's the way we do it. I'm much... Where the science helps someone like me is I'm prepared to make a thing, put it out into the world and find it really quickly if it's worked.
Right.
And that's the brilliant thing about all the science we have right now. We know straight away whether something's got traction, or like your Serena Williams example, you would have known straight away this thing's blowing up and this thing's going to take hold. And I think, we've used such contrived artificial ways of testing a piece of creative. It's driven me crazy my whole career. And it's just, we take away execution, the very thing that moves people, we take it away. We have a fucking drawing or a script or something stupid that, and then we ask people to sit there for an hour to analyse it and dissect it. When's the last time you spent more than 10 seconds thinking about an ad? It's just not how people respond to advertising in the real world. It's just completely fake and wrong. And yet marketers have put enormous faith in it. Beyond their own judgment and their own intuition and their own,
So do you not think you can use data to make an idea better, optimise it?
I think you definitely can use data to understand, to optimise a program or to optimise, a media plan or a campaign, but a specific piece of creative. Or maybe you can learn stuff along the way that can help you optimise it in real time. But I don't think you can before you put it out into the world.
Sure.
That's my belief. I don't believe any amount of data or science can make that thing better until a real person reacts to it in some way and you measure that, is my belief.
I used to agree with that.
Go on.
Yeah, so, okay, so I am an agency kid, and my way of approach is less testing, more testicles. But with Do It For Yourself, we just, Serena Williams danced for us with vigorous aplomb. She just went for it. It was amazing. It was all about investing in yourself by doing things that you love, and that was to inspire women. We fell so in love with it that the edit became 2 minutes long, and we thought that was a really great thing. And we tested with Unruly, who do incredible testing. They've got a data of 1 million people to understand where the high arousal moments are, not arousal, but emotional moments, because this video had to live in social. It had to be shared, and we know people share if you hit these high arousal emotions. So we actually could see when there was a lot of excitement and people were feeling something, and we edited around that, and it totally informed or adjusted how we actually launched it.
But it was a real piece of content that people were consuming in a real way, right? Well,
it was a pre-tested environment before we launched.
Okay.
And then it completely changed how we launched it and saved my bacon and made a very successful campaign. But yeah, I had to get back in my box about Ipsos and all this. I've not had great success, and when I've worked.
So new methodologies, and were there significant changes after the Unruly exercise?
Absolutely. Huge edit changes. The way we got Serena to launch it, to explain the idea a lot more, and it was very strong.
So done in the right way for you, it's clearly useful.
Yep, absolutely.
What about using, it's been a theme again across today, and I guess for Danielle and for Maddie, Danielle first, around test and learn and how you've leveraged that. We talk about A/B testing, being able to optimise both media, creative. I know you do some of that stuff in Lenovo, so please share and give us your insights.
Absolutely. We test and learn all the time. We put a portion of our budget every quarter towards testing and learning every single campaign that we put out there. From a creative perspective, we actually do see creative fatigue, particularly in social. So we tend to find after, around 4 weeks that we'll get a drop-off on engagement in creative. So we make sure that we're always bringing new creative to the fold. And again, creative, depending if it's a female or a male and who we put that forward to in terms of audiences, it reacts differently. So
and you're optimising that creative based on that consumer feedback?
Yeah, absolutely. We're using, our partners, Google, Adobe, to continually do that with, automatically and machine learning, and absolutely putting it out there in market.
How does that compare for you, Maddie, in your
We're
world?
exactly the same. So we have a quarterly test budget, and it could be a large brand campaign test, like what you've touched on, or it could be a performance test. So we have an iterative approach, so we'll test something, we'll optimise. If it yields a better result, we'll put it into our always on. That's for performance. And then for brand, just like you said, Danielle, we have multiple creative iterations. We absolutely see fatigue. Our wave campaign, which is our biggest sale period of the year, and that runs from January to February, we usually change creative 3 times during that.
And is that kind of a new thing? Because I think part of the challenge, depending on the nature of company, is creating a culture of test and learn. Is that something that's always been there, or is that something that's been built in Carnival?
It's a challenge to our creative agencies. We're saying we need a TVC or a 30-second or a 15-second. Oh, and we need 6 other versions. Or for VOD or social, we need another version for this particular segment, and we need another one for this particular segment. So the budgets are actually staying the same, and they've got to produce more under those budgets because we've got digital media and this huge opportunity to be able to test and learn.
I think it's really interesting for social video. I'm just putting it out there for TV. You need to know it's right, and if it's on strategy and it's built off of human insight, go for it. I've just, coming from Madeline, I've seen such great work, die a slow death through too much testing. It can be a very sad thing to watch, and it can take the vigor out of it. So.
Yeah, but I think for us, particularly we're in a saturated marketplace with computers, particularly, and we just find that there's so much, advertising that is out there. So we've got to try and be creative with our approach. So the local team have actually brought in an in-house graphic designer so that we can churn out creative a lot quicker, because we just found that the assets that we're getting from the global team was just few and far between. And you can't sustain a campaign when they give you 8 assets for a whole holiday period when, we're finding that we're getting fatigue after a couple of weeks. So, yeah, we've had to bring in-house and push that out, and that's sort of what I'm trying to bring to the AP region, is the same mentality.
But there's also great opportunities for dynamic creative here and optimisation, ad tech, and making that work less work for us.
I want to talk a little bit about the use of technology in your world, and what makes the armory of a modern marketer, what stays the same, what's the difference. I guess on the one side, again, a theme for today, and something I think's pretty inevitable, is automation. If things that can be automated will, and that continues. We see that all the time. We see technology being updated and consumers getting deeper and deeper into them. I'd like to get a sense of how you've used technology, and in the world of automation, programmatic often can get a bit of a bad name, but actually there are some examples of businesses getting their head around it and doing it well. Daniela, I know that you've been on a bit of a journey with that at Lenovo. Perhaps you can share your programmatic journey, what's worked and what you've learned.
Yeah, about 3 years ago we had 12 different agencies doing media buying for us, and it was inefficient. We were pretty much spamming our customers. So I made the decision to bring programmatic in-house and worked very closely with the DoubleClick team at Google, as well as Adobe/TubeMogul, to help us on that path of bringing it in-house. I have to say that working with those partners, they were amazing. They did an awesome job at helping train up the team and helping us really understand the world of media buying, which we did not know. So we used to give our money to our agencies blindly, and we just expected them to do the right thing by us. It was actually a big, eye-opener for me when I brought it in-house, because then I was having direct conversations with publishers and finding out all of the different, bonus inventory that was available. I was able to understand that whole technology space a lot more than just sort of being a blind marketer and sitting there not really understanding what was going on. So I think, I would encourage all marketers to ask those questions of your agencies, and I would also encourage you, if I fast forward to today, we've now put our own tech back into the hands of our agencies so that our agencies are buying on our technology. So it can work in a hybrid model as well, and that's what we've just found, that we couldn't keep up with the amount of campaigns that we've needed to run. So that sort of journey for me is, you need, as a marketer, you need to ask the right questions from your agencies and learn, and then implement.
And Maddie, I know in your world as well, you've kind of embraced technology. Is it a similar story? I know you've been exploring the world of programmatic and where you go with it.
We're not quite there yet. And it was so encouraging to hear when she spoke at Combank this morning. She said she saw a 30% drop in CPAs on programmatic display and a 40% drop in CPAs in search when she brought it in-house. 50%. Or 50%. Like that, the numbers don't lie. There is absolutely inefficiencies in the system. But the whole realm of programmatic, it's just an exchange of how you buy and sell media. So the premise is there and it works. It's just, we need to figure out what happens in that supply chain, ask the right questions, make sure that there's transparency there. And then it's all about data ownership for us, and I'm sure for you too. It's data ownership so that we own the contract. We may not operate it. As you've seen, there's some inefficiencies there. It's a whole traders and planners and analysts. But I think that, for us, it's also a way to get educated by opening up the box.
I can't help look at you with art on the t-shirt, and I'm going to ask you about how you...
In-house programmatic.
No, embracing technology.
Everyone looks up and thinks it says analog. I'm not anti-digital or anything. We've got a similar story. We run in-house programmatic, in-house search, and we've seen similar, really impressive results in terms of, better CPAs, better results, and also, we're just using search in a way smarter way. And I think this the really basic thing is it's just really powerful to have people who all day long think about our brand in those spaces, as opposed to in agencies where they think about all sorts of brands and all sorts of things. And I think that level of dedication and focus and care that our in-house people bring, I don't think any agency could bring to our programmatic search. Not to mention that the point of data, having it joined right up with our data, is really powerful. Is
that for all of you becoming just a kind of core competency and a core capability, which is just having that control over your own data? It might be naturally in your blood if you're in an insurance company or in online travel. Our point of view is our own data is not enough. Right.
So we've just done a massive segmentation piece of work. And it was really important for us not to do that just based on insurance. We wanted a view of Australia, and we wanted a view of people's financial behaviour beyond insurance. Because we don't, as Willem said in the last session, we don't interact with people that often in insurance, nowhere near as much as a bank does or a retailer does. So for us to build a great segmentation that was about growing beyond our current customer base, it was vital that we had some other data sources. And we've got a venturing fund at IG that's investing in all sorts of interesting tech startups and insurtech and fintech kind of startups. And we in fact took an investment position in Pocketbook, which is a financial app, because we wanted their data. And their data absolutely helped us build a way better segmentation than we could have with our own data.
How have you navigated that? Again, it's been this theme of there is so much data that you can pick. How have you, I'll start with you, Brent, as you're in flow, how do you figure out what's important to you? Whether it's your own or whether it's bringing stuff in?
You hire the best possible people you can. So I think one of the smartest things we did was Julie, our Chief Customer Officer, bought an analytics company. So we went out and bought Ambiata, who are one of the leading machine learning and analytics companies in Australia. Really smart dudes who come out of like CSIRO, and they're really clever. Way better than we could ever be as insurance people. They are now our analytics department. So you get the best talent in the world, or that you can get, and you let them do their thing. And that's massively step changed the way we think about data. So it's, for me, it always comes down to talent. Like same with creative, get the best creative talent you can, get the best marketing talent you can, get the best data talent you can, just get the best people you can, and let them do their thing. And for us, that's massively step changed our data capabilities.
Conscious that we're running on time, and I want to warm you up and get ready your questions. Thinking ahead, I guess, biggest single opportunity in terms of marketing effectiveness and challenges. What springs to mind? Given the journeys that you've just been on, what are you looking ahead and going, I'm really excited about this, and I'm concerned or need help, or we need to crack topic B? Zoe, from your experience with Berlei, what are those two things?
Yep. Well, from a brand side of things, I'm encouraged with all the data that is saying that investing in brand is the long-term vision, and that's where you need to focus. So for me, I'm going to continue to create those emotional big brand campaigns that bring people into the brand. And then on the other side of it, it's, when you want to get into the granular side, it's at the moment we're on last click attribution, so we're looking at doing data-driven attribution and going on a journey in that. So we've become from being a wholesaler to a retailer. Bonds is our sister brand, or brother brand, as you would say. So we've got multiple brands that are on a journey from becoming a wholesaler to a retailer and becoming a lot more sophisticated on that front, and partnering with smart people like the Googles of the world to help us on that journey.
Danielle, one of the things you touched on as well is the value of social. And social media, there are those who ask questions of its value to a marketer. How valuable has it been for you and your business?
Oh, look, it's extremely valuable. We use it for mostly brand and engagement, and we use it for customer service as well. So for us, we use video, social for branded campaigns. We find it efficient when we're after a target audience, which is our 18 to 35-year-old, and it's absolutely the one channel that we will go to across the different social networks. For me, I think really, social has to be part of your remit, but it has to be integrated to everything that you do. It can't just be a standalone.
Excellent. And you also touched on partnerships. I think one of the other themes that's coming through here is it's a more complicated world and you need help navigating. You talked about you work with DoubleClick and Adobe. Brent was talking about hiring the best people. Who are you turning to help you figure stuff out? Who are the sorts of experts that you will talk to? Yeah, Danielle.
Well, I turn to Google. I think they're amazing with the technology. I was in the previous session listening to their evangelists in the search. I mean, they're the ones that are innovating. They're the ones that have the data available, and they're the ones that can help us with our brands to grow. So that's who I look to. I look to Google, I look to Adobe, I look to the big social platforms like LinkedIn, Facebook. It's whoever is willing to partner and help me on my journey to help me grow my business.
Maddie?
I would say we lean on 2DataFish, which is an analytics company, and for us, we've inherited a lot of tech from the States, so we're never going to get a wonderful full stack, an integrated full stack, so we need a third party that is going to help us join all the dots between our CRM and our EDMs, and then our call centres and our booking system. And so we've also lent on Google to help us with search. And then we're going down a DMP and programmatic route now, to be confirmed as it goes.
Okay. I want to open it up for questions as we've got sort of 5 or so minutes left. Anyone want to